The Live with Kelly and Mark studio had never felt this uncomfortable. Kelly Ripa was still smiling, but something behind the smile had shifted. A flicker of recognition that this was not going to be the easy, breezy morning conversation she'd planned. The lights were warm, the band was playing softly, and the audience had settled into their seats with the comfortable expectation of a show that had been America's morning companion for decades. But from the moment Meghan Markle walked onto the set, something was off. Started the way these mornings always start.
Kelly's signature warmth.
Mark's easy charm. The kind of atmosphere that made celebrities forget they were being watched by millions. Meghan didn't forget. She arrived with an entourage that seemed excessive for a morning talk show. Publicist, handler, someone whose entire job appeared to be monitoring the energy. She walked onto the set with practiced grace, embraced both hosts with the precision of someone who'd rehearsed the gesture, and settled into the guest chair with careful attention to camera angles. Everything seemed normal. It wouldn't stay that way. So, Kelly began with characteristic warmth, leaning forward in her chair. You and Harry have been married for what, 8 years now? Mark and I have been married for almost 30. What's the secret? How do you keep it working? Meghan's smile was technically present, but emotionally distant. Her eyes didn't quite reach the corners of her mouth. We prioritize each other, she said. Prioritize how? Kelly pressed, genuinely curious. Because Mark and I fight about whose turn it is to take out the garbage. What do you fight about? A pause. Brief but notable. The kind of pause that made the studio audience shift in their seats, sensing something unspoken hanging in the air. We don't really fight, Meghan said. Kelly laughed. Not cruelly, but with the surprise of someone who'd heard this claim before and knew what it usually meant. You don't fight after 8 years with 2 kids? She turned to her husband. Mark, should I be concerned? Mark shook his head, trying to lighten the mood. Every couple fights. Even us. Especially us. We have disagreements, Meghan clarified, her voice tightening. But we resolve them quickly. Resolve them how? Kelly asked. Because my resolution usually involves Mark sleeping on the couch and then buying me something expensive. What's yours? We communicate. Kelly's eyebrow arched. Communicate. That's very diplomatic. She paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. In 23 years of doing this show, every couple that says they don't fight turns out to be either lying or in trouble. Which are you? The audience had gone quiet. You could hear the hum of the lights, the shuffling of a camera operator's feet, someone in the front row holding their breath. Meghan's smile remained fixed, but something flickered behind her eyes. A flash of irritation carefully contained. Let me try something different, Kelly said, attempting to reset the energy. The kids, Archie and Lilibet, what are they into right now? Every mom I know can't stop talking about whatever obsession is driving them crazy this week. They have varied interests, Meghan replied. Kelly blinked. Varied interests. She turned to Mark. Mark, what are our kids into? Mark jumped in, grateful for the lifeline. Michael's still obsessed with that video game I can't pronounce. Lola won't stop talking about her podcast. Joaquin changes his thing every week. Right now it's some obscure musician nobody's heard of. Kelly turned back to Meghan, her smile fading slightly. See? Specifics. What's Archie's thing? He enjoys many activities. Many activities he's too private to name. Kelly's voice carried an edge now, subtle but unmistakable. You've shared your children in Netflix documentaries, in professional photo shoots, in anniversary videos. The privacy seems selective. What's his actual obsession? I protect certain details. Details like what a 7-year-old likes to do for fun? Kelly leaned forward. That's not protection. That's deflection. Every mom knows her kid's current obsession. It's usually annoying and all-consuming. What's his? Silence stretched across the studio. The audience held their breath. Meghan's publicist shifted nervously in the wings. The silence tells me something, Kelly said quietly. Either you don't know, or you're so controlled that even a simple mom question becomes strategic. Neither is great. Meghan's jaw tightened. Her knuckles were white where she gripped the armrest. Kelly shifted gears, sensing she'd hit something raw. "The Met Gala," she said. "Fashion's biggest night. You haven't been invited ever. Not during Suits, not as a royal, not now. What's the deal?" Meghan stiffened visibly. "I had other commitments for 7 consecutive years on the same night." "That's either remarkable scheduling or remarkable excuse-making," Kelly said flatly. Mark tried to intervene, sensing the temperature rising. "The Met Gala is tricky. Not everyone gets invited." "Everyone in her position gets invited," Kelly countered, turning to face him. "Every A-list celebrity, every royal, every fashion figure. She's somehow never been on the list. That's not coincidence. That's intention." "I have no interest in the Met Gala," Meghan said coolly. "No interest in fashion's biggest platform," Kelly repeated. "You who launched a lifestyle brand, who positions yourself as a style icon, who did that British Vogue cover. My priorities evolved. Evolved after 7 years of not being invited." Kelly shook her head slowly. "That's rationalization, not evolution. When you can't get something, suddenly not wanting it is convenient." Meghan grabbed her water bottle. Her hand was trembling slightly. "The Geneva trip," Kelly continued, pressing forward. "Digital safety. Warning parents about the dangers of posting children online. Hours before that speech, you posted Lilibet on Instagram. Help me understand how those two things fit together." "That situation was mischaracterized." "How?" Kelly interrupted. "You posted your child, then you warned about posting children. I'm not mischaracterizing.
I'm describing chronology."
Mark tried again, his voice placating. "Context can matter." "What context?" Kelly turned to him sharply. "What context makes do as I say, not as I do acceptable? I've been a public mom for decades. When I talk about parenting, I try to practice what I preach. Posting your kid hours before warning about posting kids is textbook hypocrisy." Meghan's composure cracked, just slightly. "I was sharing a joyful moment. A joyful moment you then told other parents not to share," Kelly said. "Your joy is fine. Theirs is dangerous. That's not advocacy. That's exceptionalism. You're twisting everything." "I'm applying your own words," Kelly said, her voice calm but unyielding. "If that feels like twisting, maybe examine the words." She paused, letting the accusation hang in the air. "The foundation," Kelly said, shifting again. "Archewell, you've been running it for what, 5 years now? What's it actually accomplished?" "We've created meaningful partnerships across multiple sectors." "Partnerships toward what outcome?" Kelly pressed. "I've supported charities for years. I know what real impact looks like. When I look at Archewell, I see beautiful language but no concrete results. Impact isn't always visible. Impact that isn't visible is indistinguishable from impact that doesn't exist," Kelly said. "Name one thing that changed because Archewell exists." "Cultural conversations have shifted." "Conversations," Kelly repeated. "Not policies, not programs, not lives. Conversations. I can have conversations in my kitchen. What's the actual difference your foundation has made?" Meghan stood up partially, her body angled toward the exit. "This interview has become hostile. This interview has become specific," Kelly countered, remaining seated, completely calm. "You're confusing the two." Mark stood up as well, trying to physically ease the tension. "Maybe we should take a breath." "No," Meghan said sharply. "I came here expecting a friendly conversation. This has been interrogation." Kelly remained in her seat, her eyes steady. "Interrogation would be accusations. What I've done is ask about your children, you couldn't tell me what they like. Ask about your foundation, you couldn't name any results. Ask about the Met Gala, you blamed your schedule." She paused. "These are the softest possible questions. If they feel like interrogation, examine what you're protecting." "I'm protecting my privacy." "Privacy you violated repeatedly when it served your narrative," Kelly said, her voice rising for the first time. You published intimate details about your family. You released documentary footage of your home. You shared children's moments when they promoted your image. The privacy you're claiming doesn't exist. You just want to control which exposures count. Mark put a hand on Kelly's arm.
Kel.
I'm not done. Kelly stood now, her full height commanding the space. In 23 years of doing this show, I've had guests going through divorces, guests with dying family members, guests in the worst moments of their lives. They all managed to be human, to share something real, to answer simple questions with actual answers. She looked at Meghan with something close to pity. You can't. And that tells me something. Meghan grabbed her purse, her movements sharp. What does it tell you? It tells me there's nothing underneath the brand, Kelly said. When I ask about your kids, you give me categories. When I ask about your work, you give me generalities. When I ask about anything personal, you give me deflection. Every question hits a wall. Not a person. A wall. I am a person. A person who can't access a single specific moment with her children, Kelly said. A person who can't name a single accomplishment of her foundation. A person who can't acknowledge a single mistake or doubt or moment of genuine vulnerability. She shook her head. What kind of person is that? Mark stepped between them, his voice gentle but firm. This isn't the show. The show is honesty, Kelly said, moving past him. The show has always been honesty. Real conversations.
Actual moments.
When someone comes on my stage and gives me nothing, no real answers, no real moments, no real self, I'm going to notice. I've been doing this too long not to. Meghan moved toward the exit, her heels clicking sharply against the studio floor. You'll regret how you treated me. I'll regret asking about your children, Kelly called after her. I'll regret asking what your foundation does? Those are the questions I ask every guest. The treatment you're describing is simply someone who expected real answers instead of prepared statements. Meghan paused at the edge of the stage, turning back with narrowed eyes. Everyone attacks me. Kelly shook her head slowly. Everyone asks you questions. Questions you can't or won't answer. The attack you experience is simply accountability, the kind every public figure faces when they make public claims. She ticked off points on her fingers. You claim to be an advocate. What's your advocacy produced? You claim to be a devoted mother. What are your children actually like? You claim to want privacy. Why do you keep doing interviews? To share my perspective. Your perspective that consists entirely of grievance, Kelly said. I've watched your media appearances. Everyone is about what was done to you, what you suffered, what you escaped, never what you've built. Never what you've contributed. Never what you've given. I've given plenty. Name it right now, Kelly said. One thing you've given that exists independent of your celebrity. One contribution that would matter if nobody knew your name. Complete, devastating silence. The studio lights hummed. The audience held their breath. Meghan stood frozen at the edge of the stage, her mouth slightly open. No words coming. That's the answer, Kelly said softly. When everything depends on celebrity, nothing depends on substance. And when substance is absent, grievance fills the space. Meghan left. The studio door closed behind her with a soft click that sounded like a gunshot in the silence. Kelly and Mark stood in the sudden quiet. The audience was frozen, faces etched with shock. You could hear someone in the back row exhale like they'd been holding their breath for the entire exchange. Well, Mark said finally, his voice shaky, that was something. Kelly took a breath, steadying herself. I want to explain what just happened. She turned to face the camera, her eyes still bright with adrenaline. In 23 years of doing this show, I've asked thousands of guests about their lives, their families, their work. Almost all of them could answer. Had real moments to share. Had genuine humanity to offer. She paused. What I experienced just now was different. Every question about her children got deflection. Every question about her work got generalities. Every attempt at genuine connection got walls. And when I noticed the walls, when I pointed them out, She left. Mark nodded slowly. I tried to ease things. I know, Kelly said, turning to him, and normally I'd follow your lead. But in 23 years, I've learned to recognize when someone's performing versus when someone's present. She wasn't present. She was managed. She looked back at the camera. And managed doesn't work on this couch. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to something more intimate. Here's what I've learned doing this. Real people love talking about their kids. The embarrassing stories. The annoying obsessions. The specific moments that make them them. She shook her head. She couldn't access any of that. That's not privacy. That's disconnection. Mark added, his voice gentle. We've had guests in terrible situations share more than she did. Guests going through public divorces who could still laugh about their kids. Guests with dying parents who could still access joy. Exactly, Kelly said. What we saw today wasn't someone protecting privacy. It was someone with nothing underneath to protect. She straightened her dress, composing herself. When we come back, we'll have someone who can actually have a conversation. Because that's what this show is. Real conversations with real people. She looked directly into the lens. What just happened was neither. The footage aired that morning. ABC made no edits. The clips that spread captured the morning show confrontation in all its raw, unfiltered intensity. Social media exploded within hours. News outlets dissected every frame. Commentators took sides, but something unexpected happened. Most people took Kelly's. Every couple that says they don't fight turns out to be either lying or in trouble. Privacy you violated repeatedly when it served your narrative. When I ask about your kids, you give me categories. Every question hits a wall. When everything depends on celebrity, nothing depends on substance. She wasn't present. She was managed. Meghan's team released a statement calling the appearance a departure from the show's traditionally welcoming format, designed to generate controversy rather than conversation. Kelly addressed it the following morning. Welcoming. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. We offered coffee. We asked about her kids. We asked about her marriage. We asked what her foundation does. Those are welcoming questions. They invite sharing. She shared nothing. She paused. The controversy she's describing is simply someone who expected answers when questions were asked. Mark nodded beside her. We've done this show together for years. We've never seen anything like that, and we've had some difficult guests. Difficult usually means nervous or going through something, Kelly said. This was different. This was someone who'd forgotten how to be real, or never knew how in the first place. For Kelly Ripa, the interview became another demonstration of the instincts that had kept her on morning television for over 2 decades, the ability to recognize when someone was performing rather than present, and the willingness to name it. For Meghan Markle, it was devastating in a particular way. This wasn't political commentary or tabloid journalism. This was Live with Kelly and Mark, the friendliest show on daytime television. Being unable to connect with Kelly Ripa suggested something beyond media training could address. But for the millions who watched, something else emerged. The contrast between Kelly and Mark. Real married couple, real parents, real people sharing real moments, and Meghan's walls told its own story. Kelly had asked about her kids. Meghan offered categories. Kelly had asked about her marriage. Meghan offered diplomacy. Kelly had asked about impact. Meghan provided nothing. And in that nothing, in that complete absence of genuine humanity when humanity was invited, everything anyone needed to know about the gap between performance and reality became impossible to ignore. Some people light up when given space to be real. Others reveal they've forgotten how. Kelly offered the space. Meghan couldn't fill it. 23 years of morning television. The friendliest show in daytime. And she couldn't answer a single question with genuine humanity. What does that tell you about what's actually there? If you want more content that recognizes performance when it sees it, subscribe, drop a like, share this with someone. More honesty, more humanity, more of what daytime television is supposed to be.